Hello, ladies, gentlemen, cyborgs. I'm Zach Friedman of Voidstar Lab, the mercenary hardware hacker agency, and you're in my head. Welcome to episode 9 of my so-called weekly podcast, where I talk about wearable technology, the future, and the future of wearable technology. Today we do the latter. This is a very important podcast, possibly the most important I've ever done. This really comes from this realization that I had while I was preparing for an interview with the Observer Guardian. The interview should be up fairly soonish. I'll link to it when it becomes available, but it's not what's important. I was contacted. And I knew right away this is a news article. It's going to, she's going to try to catch me with my pants down and get me to say something incriminating Glass about privacy. So I realized, I did go to business school instead of engineering school. I'm sure you know that already. But one of the classes I taught was PR, and in PR, the very first thing you learn is you do not ever go into a media interview without knowing what you're going to say first. I know that sounds a little odd because it is a conversation that's spontaneous, but whenever anyone with something worth saying is being interviewed, they always have prepared in advance a list of points that they must hit and a list of points that they will not touch. The reason you have the first is because you have to make sure that you limit the number of lines you give them, because remember, a reporter is not your PR company. They're not doing you a favor by reporting. You're doing them a favor. They already have their story. They already have the thrust of their story, and they're going to write that story that way, whether you help them do it or not. So if she is going to write an article about privacy, about how Glass invades privacy, that's it. That's her article. All I can do is not give her ammunition. If I don't give her ammunition, the worst thing that can happen is that I'm not quoted in it. But I'm sorry, the last thing I want to do is incriminate this. So I put this together. The reason we want the others, that's the reason we want the second. The reason we want the first is because you want to make sure that if they do think you're awesome, or if you have clout and they must quote you whether they like it or not, you have to make sure the quote's on your terms. So I knew that it was going to come down to privacy, so almost all of mine were about privacy one way or another. And I realized, and something kind of clicked in my head, which was that I suspect that the reason why everyone is why laymen, people who don't use or know very much about Glass, why they care so much about the privacy thing and the camera is that there's very little else to talk about. Glass is a very interesting project. It's a very interesting product. But it hasn't yet answered the question, why do I need this? There's not enough for the average person to care about. So like when they can't have hope, they have fear. It's just the way it works. For those of you who are Glass explorers and you don't believe me, how many times has someone come up to you and they said, how do you like it? This part here really clicked when I was recording last night's WDGG. People come up to you and they say, so how do you like it? And someone said something very, very sarcastic, like I hate this thing so much that I wear it on my face all the time. But it really got me thinking, this is a question I get a lot. And it's going back to the same thing I said before, which is that they think it's really cool. They like it, they want to talk about it, they want to engage it, but they have nothing to engage it on. It's this, as far as they can tell, it's this blank, featureless surface that all it does is allow you to take pictures of your kids and, random girls hands-free. And to them, that's not something they want to talk about. So they have to throw out the most generic question, how do you like it? They want to talk about it, but they have no way to approach it. It's all feeding back to the same thing, which is that to the average Joe, Glass is worthless. And it's more than that. It's that to the average Joe, Glass is worthless, and they can't even imagine how it would become worthwhile. Now, this means that for all you people with Glass in the audience, this means that you have a responsibility. I hate to say it, but you have a responsibility. That is that whenever you talk to someone about Glass, I'm sure the conversation always ends up coming around to things Glass could do, right? Make you more productive, make you better connected, give you infinite memory, make sure you never get lost, make sure you never forget to pick up the milk, make sure that you're never caught with your pants down when a reporter calls you up to interview you, etc., etc., etc. So it's enough. Honestly, you have moved. It's too late to say things Glass could do. You have moved beyond that point. Now you have to start saying this is things Glass does, which is a fancy way of saying you must stop the excuses and you must start coding. And I don't mean tomorrow, I mean now, today. When you finish work, fire up Eclipse, fire up, whatever the web ID for, whatever your web ID for Mirror is, and write code. I cannot stress this enough. As long as the question, why do I need Glass and what can Glass do for me, as long as these questions are not answered, people will focus on the camera. As long as people are focusing on that camera, Glass is going to die. Again, I cannot stress this. I just can't stress this enough. Glass will die. The entire field of wearable technology will die again, just like it did in the 90s when people said when people said this thing doesn't even get on the web that everyone's talking about. What's the point? Just like it died in the 90s, it's going to die in the 10s. And this time it's up to you. You must answer the question what you must answer the question why do I need a Glass, and you must answer the question what does Glass actually do. I am completely convinced that once these questions are definitively answered for the majority of the population, the conversation will shift away from the camera. Right now, it's all there is to talk about. Think of it. Think about this. To every single person who isn't a Glass Explorer, Glass does absolutely nothing except allow you to take pictures of someone without them knowing. There is no evidence to the contrary. You, yourself, you listener, have provided no evidence. There is blood on. If bills start getting passed that ban Glass, there is blood on your hands. Frankly, it doesn't matter what your excuses are. It doesn't matter how much time you have or don't have. It doesn't matter how much you enjoy coding or don't enjoy coding. It doesn't matter how comfortable you are with it. It doesn't even matter if you have a good idea or not. The point is, we're at a danger zone right now. If the world cannot make the decision on their own without being convinced, if they cannot make the decision, if they cannot reach the conclusion on their own that Glass is a product that does many things that outweigh the cost of lost privacy, Glass will die. Google will can the project to save face, and I guarantee you, no company for the next decade or two will be able to go to market with a wearable. The responsibility for this rests on everybody's hands. You alone know what. If your reason, let's take this a little further. If your reason for using Glass is actually for the camera, then, well, there are two things I could say here. The first is that use that camera evidence to prove definitively that you do not violate people's privacy. And you must be very, very loud about this. You must publish every picture you take, and you must make 100% sure that there is no bycatch, right? That there are no random people who did not consent. Best case scenario, provide show a signed consent form with every picture you take. I know it's insane, but you must prove definitively that you do not take pictures. At the end of the day, this is how you have to reassure. This is really one of the only ways to put off this argument, without actually proving this. Which is to say, hey, if 20,000, if X 10,000 people are taking random pictures of people, where are they? Where are the unsolicited pictures? Show me the unsolicited pictures. I think of Sarah Slocum's altercation where she was thrown out of this bar for videotaping people. I'll tell you this. She released footage of her argument. She didn't release the footage she was taking before the argument. Show me the money. Better yet, a better way to handle it: stop using the camera. If your entire purpose of having Glass is to use the camera, then shut up. Stop publishing. Just give yourself a moratorium of 6 months or so. Stop publishing the pictures. Stop talking about Glass. Lay low. Trust, it's for the greater good. If you don't, your wearable will become outlawed. It will be banned at a federal level. I cannot stress this enough. Get your head out of your ass, people, and start proving to people, not with words, not by letting them try it on, but with utility, right? With the app. Let the app do the talking. Prove to them. Don't explain to them why glass is necessary. It will change the dynamic of the conversation. It will no longer be speculative worrying about... people want to talk about glass. They want to get into it. But this will change the conversation away from speculative worrying and towards, I want one of these. It's, I think of, when the cell phone first came out, it was a really douchey thing. I'm talking like the very first cell phones. It was... it basically told people, people thought it was businessmen waving their dicks around, basically. When it first came out, everyone's like, why do I need a phone? Like, what's the point of having a phone all the time? All this is a way for rich business people to tell people around them that they're rich business people. This accomplishes nothing, and worse than that, all people are going to do is hold random conversations in places like movie theaters. The only reason you're using a phone right now, possibly even to watch this video, the only reason you have that phone in your hand or in your pocket is because it was proven not long after that definitively you must have a phone if you want to compete. I'm talking like within the next few years, it was proven that if you wanted to be a successful business person, you must have a phone to take your business calls. The same thing has got to work with glass. As it is, the features baked into glass are not enough. Using Hangouts is cute. Taking pictures is cute. Recording a video is cute. Doing lightweight Google searches and asking glass, what is 16 times 10 is cute. But it's not enough to put the ideas into the average person's head over why do I need to go out and buy a glass. What is worth me sucking up my hand wringing about privacy? What is worth me getting over my fears? You have to prove that. And this is your responsibility, right? You could say, oh, someone else will do it. Well, guess what? Who else has glass? There are like 20,000 of these units around, and I know for a fact approximately 10,000 have their heads so far up their own bums they could never possibly be convinced to save their own platform, and they will gladly go down with the ship. It is on your hands. Do whatever it takes. Prove to people what glass will do for you on a daily basis. I am Zach Friedman of Voidstar Lab, and I hate that it has come to this, but if all else fails, I do develop glass apps for a living. Feel free to commission me. I don't want it to go this way. I develop glass apps. I will gladly build out your idea, but more than that, I'm a professional glass developer, and I will gladly assist you however I can. If you have an issue about UX design, about programming, about how to get started, even about time management, how to crack open enough time in your schedule, please, if you are having trouble cracking open time in your schedule, I will gladly give you an early copy, and I'll support it too. I'll gladly give you an early copy of Voidstar Quest, my productivity software for glass. It's doubled my productivity. It's not even exaggerating. This was just the beta. This was just my kind of internal prototype. Glass can accomplish so much for humanity. Wearable in general. Wearable can accomplish so much for humanity. It can make each human more. It can make you more human. Make you more humans, plural. Make you accomplish more. Make you do more. Make you live more. It's too much potential to get brought down because glass explorers won't put down the remote control and write apps to prove to people why their device is more than a spy camera. I'm Zach Friedman of Voidstar Lab. You've been in my head. Now get out and write some code.